This is your PowerPoint on human origins for your PowerPoint quiz on the beginnings of humanity. Big history. There's a concept called cosmology. This is the explanation of the origins of the universe and how this affects our view of human nature and its purpose. The Big Bang took place 14 billion years ago. There was a random occurrence of explosion of gases and basic elements. The principle of entropy says that if the window of the Big Bang had been just slightly bigger, then the universe would have evaporated. If the window had been just slightly smaller, the universe would have collapsed. This raises a significant question about whether or not the universe is the product of random chaos or the creating order of some intelligent designer. Early humans. Homo sapiens began to move out of Africa about 100,000 years ago. Their main technology was stone tools. 60,000 years ago, evidence has been found of civilizations all the way in Australia. And 10,000 years ago, Clovis Indians migrated over the Bering Strait into the Americas. Indians created canoes and sailed out to the South Pacific and Micronesia. Early social organization. There were about 10,000 people total in the human population at this time. The women were gatherers and the men tended to be hunters. However, this has led to the myth that women tended to be unequal to men. Actually, women and men were relatively equal in their status in these early hunting and gathering societies. They were also led by a priestly class that referred to multiple gods of nature and also to animals that symbolized these gods, or animism. Eventually, there was the development of sedentary communities. These sedentary communities were based on cereals and grain farming. At the end of the Ice Age, and a mini global warming phenomena allowed for the development of agricultural surpluses. The main communities that settled at this time were in the Euphrates, the Nile, the Tigris, and the Indus River Valley. Mesoamerican communities settled in deserts, so they were not near to river areas, so they had to create swamps for irrigation. About 12,000 years ago, there was an agricultural revolution. This is known as the Neolithic Revolution, in which humans domesticated plants and animals. The climate had changed due to the end of the Ice Age, and then there was a global warming phase. The Saharan Desert was receiving rainfall and provided Africans with farming potential. Mesoamericans lacked cereal grains and began to mix and domesticate plants in order to create maize and corn. The effects. Population has grown. 10,000 years ago, we were at 6 million people. 5,000 years ago, 50 million. And in the common area, we have gone from 250 million to 7 billion. New technologies. Looms for textiles and cloths allowed for clothing and allowed for shelter. Pottery allowed for the storing of food. And most importantly, governments established irrigation projects that allowed for the creation of the surplus of agricultural goods. Social organization. The common patterns in order to create stable societies for human organizations included the following: the development of a hierarchy with an organized leader, typically a king, military for protection, and religious classes to justify this order. In Sumeria, there was divine privilege for the king, irrigation projects, and an agricultural surplus. In China, they developed bronze tools and created irrigation projects, and there was a strong hierarchy. In India, the Aryans from just north invaded. They created a racial caste system or hierarchy justified by a religious belief in karma, which justified inequality. After people settled in sedentary societies, they expanded. There was a system of small city-states that led to an expansion primarily through trade. The biggest trade routes will be the Indian Ocean, the Mediterranean, and the Silk Road trade route. Also, new technologies with the use of iron and horse stirrups would change military power for empires and allow for this expansion.